of your way after nursing.
I'm a nurse.
Oh, okay. I was like, I would.
I just think so. Congratulations.
Honored guests, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the singing of the first verse of the national anthem. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. The President of the University.
Mr. Rector, members of the Board of Visitors, students, colleagues, family, friends, welcome to Final Exercises. My name is Scott Beardsley, and this is my first Final Exercises weekend as UVA president, which means that I am as excited as you are. I will serve as your host for today's ceremony and officially award your degrees. Can I just say, you guys look amazing. Woo! Class of 2026, let's go! Incredible. Today marks the end of the 197th academic session, and we are here to celebrate and confer degrees on students from 9 of the university schools. I'm going to name them off, and maybe I'll hear something. School of Medicine. The School of Law. The School of Engineering and Applied Science. Wow. The Darden Graduate School of Business Administration. The School of Architecture. The School of Nursing. Awesome. The McIntyre School of Commerce. And now let's all do it together. The School of Continuing and Professional Studies and the School of Data Science. Everyone. Good job. Yesterday, we conferred degrees for the College and Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, the School of Education and Human Development, and the Frank Batten School of Leadership and Public Policy. Our oldest graduate this weekend is 73. Yeah. Our youngest graduates are 19. Okay. Some of you are the first in your families to ever graduate from college. Some are veterans earning degrees after many years of service. And some came from all over the world, and some came from right here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Each one of you have a unique and powerful story. And this weekend is the culmination of years of hard work, not only by our graduates, but by their families, the faculty, staff, and friends who supported them, and all who care about their success. You have earned this moment of celebration, which is why I'd like to ask our graduates, I'd like to ask you to stand, please, turn toward the audience, and give them a round of applause and thanks for everything they've done you on this journey. Thank you. Before we begin, I would also like to acknowledge graduating student athletes, many of whom cannot be here today, including our softball team and our men's tennis team, who at one point yesterday afternoon, DraftKings and Polymarket gave them 1% chance of beating Wake, but they came back and are in the finals today against Texas. Let's go! I would also like to take a moment to recognize School of Architecture Dean Malo Hudson, he is celebrating his final exercises as he concludes his deanship this summer. Malo, thank you for all you've done. We are also dearly missing our friend and late Dean Phil Bourne, Dean of the School of Data Science, who passed away earlier this spring with a bout of cancer. It was an honor and privilege to work alongside Phil. Let's give him a I have a few more thanks to offer. First, thank you to the 380th Army Band from Fort Eustis, Virginia, which is performing our music today. Thanks as well for the members of our ROTC programs who presented the colors. I would like to honor our newly commissioned ROTC cadets and the veteran graduates who have served our country. Thank you. Thank you also to the nearly 200 students, alumni, parents, and friends of the university who are volunteering this weekend at information tents, helping you stay hydrated, and helping to collect balloons for UVA Health's Children's Hospital. Thank you. Thank you also to our professional staff who work hard all year long, but especially this weekend, and with a special shout out to those who've worked so hard to make our grounds look even more beautiful than they usually do, and to make this day so special. Thank you very much. And a particular shout out to Cecil Banks, our Executive Director for Major Events, and our team. And I'd also like to thank our excellent faculty, our amazing faculty, who have given so much to the class of 2026, all their knowledge, and to all of our students. Please join me in a round of applause for our outstanding faculty and staff. And last, but certainly not least, I offer my heartfelt thanks and congratulations to you, the class of 2026. Yeah. I hope your time at UVA has been exciting and fulfilling. I also know it's not always been easy. You endured a tragic shooting during your first year in which we lost 3 bright and beautiful souls. You have endured other highs and lows since then, but your courage and resilience, your care for one another, your joy and your zeal for life and learning have lifted this community every step of the way. You are entering a world that will continue to test your courage, your compassion, your intellect, and your joy. I have no doubt that you are up for the challenge and that you will make the world a better place, just as you have done on these beautiful grounds. We will be here every step of the way, cheering you on. And with that, let us begin this honorable and joyous ceremony through which we will welcome all of you into the worldwide community of the University of Virginia graduates.
The Rector of the University.
Good morning, UVA. You know, I found it interesting that you guys are much more enthusiastic than the college was yesterday, maybe because you guys weren't at Trinity until 4 in the morning. But there's always tonight, right? So let's get this out of the way. Okay, Matt, I take a picture. Okay, I got it. President Beardsley, fellow visitors, distinguished faculty, devoted alumni, exhausted but joyful families, and most importantly, the University of Virginia class of 2026. It's a great honor and a humbling responsibility to serve the university and you in this role as rector. And yes, this robe is heavy and very hot. This May marks 30 years since I walked the lawn and took my first degree from this university, and 27 years since I walked the lawn and took my law degree. And I can distinctly remember, there we go. I can distinctly remember the pride I felt that day to have experienced the honor of honors. But more than pride, I felt a deep gratitude for what UVA had given me. UVA exposed a kid from a rural farming community with a single parent to a world of possibilities. It gave me role models and inspiration. It reminded me that all great things and institutions begin with an idea. Our university began with a few simple, powerful ideas. That this institution is based on the illimitable freedom of the human mind. Second, that we follow truth wherever it leads, and that we have a duty to create educated citizen leaders. Jefferson knew that the only safe depository of power is in the hands of the people, but for it to be safe there, we must inform their discretion by education. I take this moment of personal privilege to remind us of these cornerstones of our institution. While our beloved grounds has seen much change and tumult during your time here, our mission remains inviolate. We will continue to seek out the illimitable freedom of the human mind. We will follow truth wherever it leads, and we will continue to create educated citizen leaders. Your commencement today confirms the fact that our community is resilient and strong, and thank you for seeing us through. To the parents and families in the audience, let's give ourselves a round of applause. We finally got them over the finish line. I had the privilege yesterday of presiding as my daughter received her diploma, her first degree from UVA, and it was a great honor. Class of 2026, look around. 4 years ago, you arrived on grounds with your ambitions, your anxieties, and entirely too many storage bins. Since then, you've survived late-night study sessions in Clemens or Shannon Library. You've spread across the corner for Bodo's Bagels between classes. You've sung the good old song, Linking Arms with Strangers who quickly became your family. You have grown up on this beautiful lawn in the shadow of the rotunda within a community of trust that challenged you to be more than just brilliant students, but to be honorable people. The real world is waiting for you. It is a complicated world of dizzying technology and profound change, but I'm not worried because I'm looking at the people who are going to build that future. So as you depart these grounds to build our tomorrow, I charge you with 4 very simple points on life. The first point is show up. To truly embrace life, you have to be present. You cannot influence your community or your profession from the sidelines. Be there in the laboratories, in the boardrooms, in the nonprofits, in the operating rooms, in the courtrooms, and in any room where decisions are being made. UVA prepared you for that. My second point is to speak up. Wherever you are in life, don't just take up space. Contribute your ideas to make it better. We all have a duty to improve the places we live, in the institutions we participate in, and to have a positive impact on the people around us. Your words are power. Use them to advocate for progress, to build people up, and to challenge injustice. Thirdly, you have to step up. Sometimes words are not enough. You may have to get your hands dirty, stay up late, or get up early to bring about the change you seek in business. We know that activity without progress is not progress. Real impact requires grit to execute the mission. Vision without action is a daydream. Action without vision is a nightmare. Fourthly, you must make yourself stand up. When life knocks you down and things don't go your way, you stand back up and you do it again, remembering that success is just another name for failure when you don't quit. So don't be afraid to fade. Don't be afraid to fail. Aim high. In your pursuit of excellence, never settle or tolerate for low expectations. One of my mentors in life is Dr. Benjamin E. Mays, and he famously said, "It must be borne in mind that the greatest tragedy of life doesn't lie in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in having no goal to reach. It isn't a calamity to die with dreams unfulfilled, but it is a calamity not to dream. It is not a disaster to be unable to capture your ideal, but it is a disaster to have no ideal to capture. It's not a disgrace not to reach the stars, but it is a disgrace to have no stars to reach for. Not failure. Low aim is the sin. Low aim is the sin because it disrespects the sacrifices you and your loved ones made to get you here. Low aim is a sin because it rejects the truth evidenced by this moment and this ceremony, which is that each of you has limitless potential. And we are all here to testify to that today. Each of you is greatness waiting to be realized. And I know this because you are now one of us, a graduate of the University of Virginia. It is an honor to have you join the fold. It is now my honor to introduce your commencement speaker. Please join me in welcoming the University of Virginia's Associate Professor of Commerce, Sherry Moore. Professor Moore is a UVA alumna who returned to these grounds not only as a faculty member, but a force. She spent years as a trial lawyer before answering a different calling, one that brought her to the classroom more than 15 years ago, and kept her there ever since. The results speak for themselves. She has been celebrated by the Cavalier Daily as a beloved commerce professor and a motivator for the university students. And in 2021, she was honored with UVA's All-University Teaching Award, one of the highest recognitions this institution bestows upon its educators. Today, she stands before nearly 3,900 graduates from 9 of our schools: architects and engineers, lawyers and physicians, nurses, data scientists, and business leaders. The breadth is fitting because what Professor Moore teaches transcends any single discipline. How to lead with purpose, think with clarity, and meet the world with confidence. Please welcome Professor Sherry Moore.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rector, members of the Board of Visitors, President Beardsley, deans, distinguished faculty, staff, families, friends, loved ones, and most importantly, the class of 2026. Well done. I'm so honored to be here with you today, but I have a little bad news. I do have one more quiz for you before you leave here. Now, I don't know if any of you recognize what I have in my hand. No? See if this helps. No? Any clues? Okay, and no fair if you're the 73-year-old graduate, you don't get to vote. Right? You know what this is. This is a roadmap. This roadmap was an ancient device, once responsible for testing the strength of countless marriages before GPS arrived on the scene. It's basically Google Map, except recalculating usually involved a lot more yelling. And sometimes, actually often, we got lost. We had to pull over, unfold the map, figure out where we went wrong, and try to reroute. And in many ways, if you think about it, it's exactly like life. Our future is not a perfectly planned out GPS route. There's no highlighted shortcuts. There's no blue beam telling us, right, where we are and which way we're headed. There are no warnings about the obstacles ahead. Instead, life routinely confronts us with challenges that become part of our drive. Our drive? Doubt, rejection, insecurity, vulnerability, endings. Now, the challenge itself is rarely the story, because every life encounters difficulty. What defines our story, though, is how we choose to go in which direction. The direction we choose to face when these moments present us. And that's where our drive begins, with doubt, the D in drive. Doubt urges us to pull over when there's uncertainty. Courage tells us to keep going. My grandfather had that courage. He grew up on a small Greek island in the late 1800s, with very few resources and very little opportunity. So as a teenager, he boarded a ship. He had no idea where he was headed, but he knew that wherever it was better than where he was. And he had the belief and the hope that it would become something better. Now, during that journey, he discovered something that would shape the rest of his life. Education creates opportunities where none previously existed. And by the time he arrived at Ellis Island, he spoke 6 languages, eventually building a successful career as an interpreter. And when the Great Depression took nearly everything that he'd worked for, he learned the one thing they couldn't take was his education. No circumstance could take that away from him. And with that, he was able to rebuild and give my father the opportunity to attend not only UVA undergraduate, but UVA Law School as well. My father never forgot his father's sacrifices that made those opportunities possible. And through that experience, he came to another invaluable realization about education. Talent exists everywhere. Opportunity does not. So he decided to do something about it. He created a free night school for working adults seeking a second chance through education. That small night school became John Tyler Community College, now Bright Point. And years later, while my father was in the hospital, he thanked his nurse for being so kind and so compassionate with him, because he could be really ornery. And she gently took his hand, and she said, "No, Mr. Leides, it's I who owe you thanks. You see, without the scholarship that I received in your father's name, I never would have been able to attend Bright Point and to become a nurse. Exactly. So what began as one simple belief that education can change a future has now opened doors for thousands of families who once believed those doors would never be open to them. And in many ways, that story now belongs to you. Some of you have crossed oceans to get here, as we've already talked about. Some of you became the first in your families to walk this path. And some of you looked around during your first week here and thought, what the heck am I doing here? When you're surrounded by extraordinary people, and at UVA you truly are, it becomes pretty easy to assume that everyone else is more confident, right? Is more accomplished, somehow managing life better than you are. At a place where a student sitting next to you casually mentions that they conducted research, lead 2 organizations, trained for a marathon, pursued 3 majors, and interviewed for internships all before breakfast. It's understandable to occasionally wonder if you accidentally missed that orientation session called How Everyone Else Got Their Life Together. But what many of you eventually discovered was that almost everyone around you was carrying that same doubt. Because even at UVA, behind the resumes, the accomplishments, and the LinkedIn profiles that somehow make every student sound like a CEO of a small country, many people were quietly asking themselves, do I really belong here? And yet, you kept on moving. You balanced relentless pressure, expectations, internships, athletics, leadership positions, research products, family responsibilities, and yes, for many of you, significant financial stress. You embraced the fact that confidence is not built by never questioning yourself. It's built by refusing to let doubt define your direction. You also came of age during a period of enormous uncertainty and constant change, learning how to adapt in a world that's evolving faster than any generation before you. And through it all, you proved that you're among the most talented, driven, and capable young people in the world. But as my father understood, extraordinary ability and opportunity carry with them responsibility. Responsibility to use your talents not only for personal success, but to help address the challenges confronting our society, our nation, and our world. Rapid technological change, economic uncertainty, global conflict, climate change, and the ethical questions surrounding artificial intelligence. Now, many of you have already answered this call, right? Many of you have done it through the hospitals or in free clinics, the Legal Aid Justice Center, Engineering Without Borders, and other service projects that changed your perspective and taught you something invaluable. Purpose has a way of quieting doubt. So while technology may continue to transform the way we live and work, it will never replace the qualities that make us human. Your worth will never be defined by the speed of your responses, but instead by the strength of your character, the depth of your compassion, your capacity to love and be loved, by your ability to laugh at yourself, and by the humanity you bring to the lives of others. Be confident in this truth. No machine will ever truly replicate these qualities. Now, interestingly enough, every time I ran this thing through AI, they kept deleting that line. I don't know. So, just so you know, Claude and I, we've officially broken up. Not happening. So, Claude for my husband, that's AI, honey. It's just, don't worry. Which brings us back to our drive and to the R, rejection, the part of life that usually arrives uninvited. The job we wanted but didn't get. The relationship we believed was the one that ended. The plan we carefully envisioned that suddenly falls apart. And in those moments, it's easy to confuse a detour with a dead end. I learned that lesson when I was about your age, those of you in the way back. When UVA Law School sent me a letter, very different from the letter he got, my letter said no thank you, which is law school language for we wish you the very best, just somewhere else. And at the time, I was genuinely confused by the decision. I thought to myself, did they somehow miss, right, that I was the complete package? Social chairman of my sorority, managed to make it to an 8 a.m. class at least twice voluntarily, developed Olympic speed pretending I'd done the reading, perfect attendance at events that offered free food, and proudly a card-carrying member of the Verge Elite Club. I didn't see the problem. Seriously, like many people facing a significant rejection for the first time, I quietly wondered whether that letter was telling me something about my own worth. But looking back now, I understand something I couldn't see then. Life was not ending the story I'd imagined for myself. It was quietly leading me toward a better one I never would have chosen on my own. So I unfolded the map again, although many of you know what this is. You know they never fold back the way they came, right? I don't know, honestly, it's like folding a roadmap is like folding a fitted sheet. You know it's possible, but you just can't figure out how, right? So I rerouted to the University of Richmond Law School, which led me to a deeply rewarding legal career, and then eventually brought me back here to the university I love, surrounded by students I deeply admire and who inspire me every day. That unexpected turn in my life not only shaped my career, it also led me to my late husband. And I've been trying to remember what I was thinking about 40 years ago when I was sitting exactly where you were today, or where you are today. And I can assure you I was not imagining that one day I would return to this stage and be standing up here delivering the commencement address to this incredible class of UVA grads. To be honest, at that particular moment in my life, after a very aggressive week of graduation celebrations, and perhaps maybe, as my father said, 4 years of aggressive celebrations, my goals were considerably less ambitious. In fact, I think they pretty much just included hydration and finding a place to get out of the sun and lie down, someplace quiet, because it was also hotter than bejeebs then as well. Now, while we all hope to avoid rejection, it actually has a way of teaching us something deeper, though, right? Something that you all will take with you each time you face that detour. Sometimes the moments that disappoint us the most become the very moments that transform our lives. But if we allow rejection to define us, it can quietly erode our confidence until fear becomes the one making the decisions rather than courage, which often results in the I in drive, insecurity. We live in a society where almost everyone has a microphone, right? Comment section, a podcast, or social media account that they can send and broadcast immediately all over the world. Some people have actually confused having a Wi-Fi connection with having wisdom. And if you're not careful, that noise can convince you you're not enough. You're not successful enough. You're not accomplished enough. You're not attractive enough. You're just not enough. But remember this, not every voice deserves a seat in the car. If it's true, then learn from it, right? If it's useful, grow from it. If it's neither, just roll up the window and keep going, because you can't control what others say, but you can control your reaction to it. Trust me, as a professor, I've learned this personally. Yes, I read occasionally the rate my professor comments. Evidently, requiring students to put their cell phones away during class is now considered a violation of basic human rights. And apparently the fact that I still write with chalk on the board has convinced some students that I taught alongside Thomas Jefferson. I just rolled up the window and kept being me. And the harshest criticism of all, though, doesn't come from online. It comes from the quiet voice living inside our own minds, the one that replays mistakes long after that moment is past, or asks us to relive decisions that we can't make again. They just can't be undone. But life doesn't give us the option of driving backwards, does it? So don't spend your life staring in the rearview mirror, reliving mistakes or replaying regrets. Keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road ahead of you, because your next decision, not your last mistake, determines where you're headed. And somewhere along the way, society convinced your generation that you were supposed to have your entire future planned out remarkably early in life, choosing career paths, building resumes, securing internships, and networking professionally. Well, for some of you, it even lost your baby teeth. But as you pursue the future you dream about, don't move so quickly. Slow down. Appreciate your friends. Appreciate your family. Tell the people you love that you love them every chance you get. And appreciate those ordinary moments that don't seem extraordinary today, but someday will mean more to you than you could possibly imagine. And there will come a time when many of you will realize that some of the people sitting right here next to you today became one of the most meaningful parts of your story. Which brings us to the V in drive. I can hear you like, V, okay, oh, well, one more, thank God. Whew. I could have been driving carefully. All right. The V, the willingness to be vulnerable, to open yourself up to the possibility of pain, like having to sit here listening to me today, allows us to fully experience the beauty of unconditional love, deeply human connection, and the joy that gives life its most greatest meaning. My late husband and I learned this lesson. For years, we tried to make sense of a relationship many people questioned. You see, he was 26 years older than I was. It was a deeply vulnerable place to be, choosing to trust our own hearts, despite the unconventional nature of our relationship and the uncertainty that came with it. But eventually we realized something important. There was only room for the two of us in that car. And the decision was ours and ours only. And I will be forever grateful that we chose to take that drive together. Which brings me to the hardest part of the drive, endings. Fortunately, every part of our drive teaches us something we eventually need when life changes without warning. Doubt teaches us how to continue through uncertainty. Rejection teaches us how to begin again. Insecurity teaches us how to trust ourselves. Vulnerability teaches us how deeply that we can love. These lessons in the end teach us that achievements, titles, accomplishments, they're never the most important part of our story. People are. People we loved, people who inspired us, who we wish we could still hold on to. People like Deshaun Perry, Devin Chandler, and Lavelle Davis Jr. This university felt the heartbreak of losing men filled with so much promise, deeply loved by this community, whose future should have stretched far beyond these grounds. Professor Carrie Heilman and Dean Phil Bourne, extraordinary individuals who devoted their lives to uplifting others at UVA and beyond. Their losses remind us that people who leave the greatest mark on our lives are rarely the loudest voices in the room. And part of every life is learning how to deal with personal loss. I faced that test early. At 30 years of age, only 8 months after my marriage, I became a widow. 4 months later, on the very day that I should have been celebrating my first-year wedding anniversary, my mother died. For a long time, I was lost. Grief doesn't come with directions. It doesn't tell you how to rebuild a life that suddenly feels unrecognizable. But over time, I began to realize that moving forward doesn't mean leaving the loss behind. It means learning how to carry it beside you without letting it take the wheel. And years later, life surprised me once more. I remarried, a widower with 3 wonderful children, and now 7 beautiful grandchildren. They helped me rediscover something grief tries very hard to erase. Laughter can return to a home. Love can grow again. And even after heartbreak, a beautiful future can be waiting around the next turn. So as you leave here today, I know you're like, oh, thank God. As you leave here today, remember this. Life will not always hand you clear directions. And unlike GPS, life rarely announces you have arrived. When life challenges you, remember that a meaningful life is built one choice at a time. So choose courage when doubt tells you to stop. Choose perseverance when rejection tells you to turn around. Choose confidence when insecurity questions your worth. Choose love, even when vulnerability makes it risky. Choose hope when life confronts you with the endings you never expected. And now that you know how to use one of these things, sometimes choose the map, okay, instead of GPS. So class of 2026, as you know, you are extraordinarily talented. You're resilient, you're compassionate, and you are far more prepared than you ever realized. So before you leave here today, let me give you one final piece of advice. Enjoy the drive. Congratulations, class of 2026, and Godspeed on the journey ahead. Thank you.
The President of the University.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Mike's dead. There we go. Thank you so much, Sherry, for those inspiring words. Let's give her another round of applause. Amazing. Great job. Before we confer degrees, I would like to recognize the 81 students who have earned their baccalaureate degrees in just 3 years. As a symbol of their achievement, those students are wearing orange stoles today. Will those of you who are graduating early please stand so we can give you a well-deserved round of applause. Well done. I would also like to recognize the 1,325 students who are the first in their family to graduate over the course of this weekend. Can everybody please give them a round of applause for our first-time students? All of today's degree candidates are listed in the digital program, every name, including those who completed the requirements for their degrees in December or last August. Today we will award, therefore, 1,572 baccalaureate degrees, 461 first professional degrees in law and medicine, and 1,888 graduate degrees, including 1,664 master's degrees and 224 doctoral degrees. These degrees will be conferred with all of the rights and privileges thereunto belonging. The deans will now present the candidates for degrees one at a time. Under authority vested in the general faculty and delegated to me, I will then award the degrees.
The Interim Executive Vice President and Provost of the University.
The Interim Dean of the School of Medicine.
The candidates for the degree of Doctor of Medicine will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Medicine.
I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Medicine. I charge you to use your training to heal the sick, sustain the well, and protect the welfare of the young, the old, and all who seek your care and counsel. Congratulations.
So the doctors of medicine will please be seated. The candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Biomedical Sciences will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Biomedical Sciences.
I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Biomedical Sciences. I charge you to use your knowledge and training to to become leaders in your field, advancing research, curing diseases, and educating the next generation of scholars. Congratulations.
The doctors of philosophy and biomedical sciences will please be seated. The candidates for the degree of Master of Public Health or Master of Science in the School of Medicine will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Master of Public Health or Master of Science in the School of Medicine.
I confer upon you the degree of Master of Public Health or Master of Science, and I charge you to use your training, knowledge, and research to advance clinical care, patient outcomes, health care, and policies affecting our communities. Congratulations.
The Masters of Public Health and Masters of Science will please be seated.
The Dean of the School of Law.
Good morning, Mr. President and honored guests. Good morning, law graduates. The candidate for the degree of Doctor of Juridical Science will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, as Dean of the School of Law, I have the honor to present this candidate who has fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Juridical Science.
We see you over there. I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Juridical Science, and I congratulate you on the completion of the highest degree that can be earned in the study of law. I urge you to use your specialized training and research abilities to advance fair and equitable application of the law. Congratulations.
The Doctor of Juridical Science will please be seated. The candidates for the degree of Master of Laws will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Master of Laws.
I confer upon you the degree of Master of Laws and charge you to use your advanced knowledge of the law in the pursuit of justice and the betterment of humankind. Congratulations.
The Masters of Laws will please be seated. The candidates for the degree of Juris Doctor will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Juris Doctor.
I confer upon you the degree of Juris Doctor, and I charge you to use your training and knowledge to preserve individual liberties, freedom, and justice through the process of the law. Congratulations.
The Juris Doctors will please be seated. Congratulations, law graduates.
The Dean of the School of Engineering and Applied Science.
The candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the School of Engineering and Applied Science will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the School of Engineering and Applied Science.
I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. I charge you to pursue discoveries and inventions for the betterment of humankind, to work at the frontiers of applied knowledge, and to communicate the excitement of science to the next generation. Congratulations.
The Doctors of Philosophy will please be seated. The candidates for master's degrees in the School of Engineering and Applied Science will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for master's degrees in the School of Engineering and Applied Science.
I confer upon you the appropriate master's degree in the School of Engineering and Applied Science and charge you to pursue rigorous research that advances modern technology and sustains human life. Congratulations.
The master's graduates of the School of Engineering and Applied Science will please be seated. The candidates for bachelor's degrees in the School of Engineering and Applied Science will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for bachelor's degrees in the School of Engineering and Applied Science.
I confer upon you the appropriate bachelor's degree in the School of Engineering and Applied Science and charge you to use your knowledge and skills to transform the principles of science and mathematics into new and useful technologies. Congratulations.
The bachelor's graduates of the School of Engineering and Applied Science will please be seated. Congratulations, engineers. Make the world a better place.
The interim dean of the Darden Graduate School of Business Administration.
The candidates for the degree of Master of Science or Master of Business Administration, will you please rise and remain standing? Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Master of Science or Master of Business Administration.
I confer upon you the degree of Master of Science or Master of Business Administration and charge you to promote innovation, equity, and ethical integrity in your leadership of the practical affairs of this nation and the world. Congratulations, Darden.
Congratulations, class of 2026. The Masters of Science and Masters of Business Administration, will you please be seated? Thank you.
The dean of the School of Architecture.
The candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the construction environment will please stand. Mr. President, as Dean of the School of Architecture, I have the honor to present this candidate who has fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the constructed environment.
I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the constructed environment and charge you to encourage the prudent development and rigorous study of built human spaces through research, teaching, and design. Good job. Congratulations.
The Doctor of Philosophy in the Constructed Environment will please be seated. The candidates for the degree of Master of Architectural History, Architecture, Landscape Architecture, Urban Design, or Urban and Environmental Planning will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, as Dean of the School of Architecture, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Master of Architectural History, Architecture, Landscape Architecture, Urban Design, or Urban and Environmental Planning.
I confer upon you the appropriate master's degree in the School of Architecture and charge you to shape rich and humane environments that acknowledge the heritage of the past while anticipating the needs of the future. Congratulations.
The Masters of Architectural History, Architecture, Landscape Architecture, Urban Design, and Urban Environmental Planning will please be seated. The candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Architectural History, Bachelor of Science in Architecture, or Bachelor of Urban Environmental Planning will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, as Dean of the School of Architecture, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Architectural History, Bachelor of Science in Architecture, or Bachelor of Urban and Environmental Planning.
I confer upon you the appropriate bachelor's degree in the School of Architecture and charge you to use your knowledge to preserve and shape environments that inform and magnify the quality of life itself. Congratulations.
The Bachelors of Architectural History, Bachelors of Science in Architecture, and Bachelors of Urban Environmental Planning will please be seated. A big congratulations to you all.
The Dean of the School of Nursing. The candidates for the degree of Doctor of Nursing Practice and Doctor of Philosophy will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Nursing Practice or Doctor of Philosophy.
I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Nursing Practice or Doctor of Philosophy, and I charge you to apply your specialized knowledge and abilities to the work of enhancing the profession of nursing as you enter practice, teach aspiring nurses, and pursue research that will shape the future of healthcare itself. Congratulations.
The Doctor of Nursing Practice and Doctors of Philosophy will please be seated. The candidates for the degree of Master of Science in the School of Nursing will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Master of Science in the School of Nursing.
I confer upon you the degree of Master of Science, and I charge you to use your advanced knowledge and skills to promote the health and well-being of the individuals, families, and communities you serve. Congratulations.
The Master of Science will please be seated. Mr. President, I have the honor to present, the candidates, I have to get you standing first. The candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in the School of Nursing will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Science in the School of Nursing.
I confer upon you the degree of Bachelor of Science, and I challenge you to promote human health and to strive to improve the lives of persons in need. Congratulations.
The Bachelor of Science will please be seated. Congratulations, all nursing graduates.
The Interim Dean of the McIntire School of Commerce.
The candidates for the degree of Master of Science in Accounting, Master of Science in Business Analytics, Master of Science in Commerce, Master of Science in Global Commerce, or Master of Science in the Management of Information Technology will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Master of Science in Accounting, Master of Science in Business Analytics, Master of Science in Commerce, Master of Science in Global Commerce, or Master of Science in the Management of Information Technology.
I confer upon you the appropriate master's degree in the School of Commerce, and I charge you to boldly shape global business with integrity, purpose, and a fundamental understanding of how commerce can contribute to the common good. Congratulations.
The master's graduates of the McIntire School of Commerce will please be seated. The candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in the McIntire School of Commerce will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Science in the McIntire School of Commerce.
I confer upon you the appropriate bachelor's degree in the School of Commerce. With that, I charge our next generation of business leaders to consider how you can ethically transform society and fearlessly solve global challenges using commerce for the global good. Congratulations.
The Bachelors of Science graduates will please be seated. Congratulations.
The Dean of the School of Continuing and Professional Studies.
The candidates for the degree of Master of Public Safety will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Master of Public Safety.
I confer upon you the degree of Master of Public Safety. I challenge and empower you to think critically, reinforce democratic principles, serve the public, earn community trust, and help more people live free from fear and harm. Congratulations.
The Masters of Public Safety may be seated. The candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Interdisciplinary Studies or Bachelor of Professional Studies in Health Sciences Management will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Interdisciplinary Studies or Bachelor of Professional Studies in Health Sciences Management.
I confer upon you the degree of Bachelor of Interdisciplinary Studies or Bachelor of Professional Studies in Health Sciences Management. I commend your commitment to lifelong learning, and I challenge you to continue in that spirit as you further your education, pursue your career, and strive to reach your goals. Congratulations.
The Bachelors of Interdisciplinary Studies and Bachelors of Professional Studies in Health Sciences Management will please be seated. Go SCPS!
The Interim Dean of the School of Data Science.
All right. The candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the School of Data Science will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the School of Data Science.
I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. I charge you to elevate the lives and environment of those whose data you collect and analyze, to champion data privacy and ethics, and to advance the practice of data science ever onwards. Congratulations to you.
The Doctors of Philosophy will please be seated. Now, the candidates for the degree of Master of Science in the School of Data Science will please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Master of Science in the School of Data Science.
I confer upon you the degree of Master of Science and charge you to use your knowledge and skills to continue exploring, analyzing, and safeguarding data to make discoveries to advance the world while treating data ethically and with regard to the privacy rights of individuals. Congratulations to you.
The Masters of Science in Data Science will please be seated. We see you, Data Science. Onwards.
The Chair of the University of Virginia Alumni Association Board of Managers.
Good morning, members of the class of 2026, and good morning to the family members, university faculty and staff and friends who cheered you along the way to this very special milestone. My name is Thomas Hall. I'm a proud graduate of the college and of the law school, where I was classmates with our outstanding dean, Leslie Kendrick. I'm also the current chair of the Board of Managers of the Alumni Association. And on behalf of the Alumni Association, I am honored to welcome all of you to the UVA alumni family. You are now part of a vibrant, dynamic, and growing community of more than 270,000 living alumni. And the Alumni Association can't wait to be your home at UVA and in Charlottesville going forward. I have two pieces of advice for you as you leave the majesty of Mr. Jefferson's colonnades. First, mentor and support the students who are staying on grounds after you and the students who have yet to join the UVA family. My own life and career have been enriched by older UVA alumni who taught me, mentored me, and hired me for almost every job I've had since I left grounds. But I've gotten even more out of the relationships that I've developed with those who were students after I graduated, including a few sitting on the lawn today, like Kyle and Katie, Gregory, and Thomas. Every hour you spend with a UVA student as an alum will be an hour well spent, and you will be repaying those alumni who will inevitably help you in your own lives and careers. Second, come back to grounds often. There are many alumni on the lawn with us today who have come back to grounds for young alumni reunions, for the big undergraduate reunions in June, for Black Alumni Weekend, for professional and graduate school reunions, and for countless other alumni events, many of which are organized and supported by the Alumni Association. UVA benefits greatly from the deep ties its alumni have with this place, and you will find that coming back to grounds reconnects you with the dreams of your youth. And when you come back to grounds, we hope you'll visit us at the new home of the Alumni Association, Agrawal Hall, opening next spring, which will truly be a home for every who. I hope this next chapter of your life brings you success and fulfillment. I hope you'll go out and explore all the world has to offer, and I hope you'll always find your way home to UVA. On behalf of the staff and the Board of Managers of the Alumni Association and the entire UVA alumni family, welcome. You have worn the honors of honor. You have graduated from Virginia. Wahoo wah.
The President of the University.
Thank you, Thomas, for your remarks. We do have the best alumni community in the world, a community that you all are joining today. I'd like to say a final thank you to our Grand Marshal, Professor Michael Kennedy, over here, and all of today's speakers and performers. All right, class of 2026, I see you with the fans, it's hot. We're in the home stretch here. I know I'm the only thing between you and heading back to Trin and Nellie's. So let's take just a minute, this final moment of final exercises, to pause and look around. Just take a second, just look around. Here we are on the beautiful grounds of the University of Virginia's Academical Village, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. If we would be in Europe, it would be like Versailles. That's a UNESCO World Heritage Site too. This is better. In this nation's 250th year, you have just been declared a UVA graduate. Gathered here are people from every corner of the Commonwealth, the country, and the globe. Each of you arrived with your own set of ideas, experiences, and beliefs. I'd guess many of you were a bit nervous about fitting in. I know I have been many times. Yet, after sharing these grounds, you are stepping forward together as alumni of UVA. It's a powerful feeling. I'll call it shared ground. This moment is the perfect example. We're all wearing robes, wool, pretty hot, and even though you studied different things, you are celebrating your degree today, surrounded by proud loved ones. But our connection runs deeper. How many of you here love Bodo's Bagels? Yeah. Double egg sausage on everything bagel. It's from my order. Many of you have spent a late night on Shannon Library or on the corner, and I know some of you here on the lawn late at night. Yeah, we don't know what happens, but something. And you've cheered on our teams and our national champions. You see, we are all Wahoos. Yeah. But in a few moments, you will turn towards the rotunda and enter a wider world. After UVA, you will meet people who don't look like you, speak like you, think like you, or vote like you. As you make your way, I urge you to remember this moment and to seek shared ground. You see, I know something about this. I grew up in Alaska, and I arrived at college alone, several thousand miles from home, with one suitcase and no familiar faces. My tennis teammates asked if I had lived in an igloo and jokingly called me Polar Beardsley. I convinced some of them I learned to play tennis on ice. As an engineering student at Tufts, I had to find that shared ground, and fast. In my career, I was blessed to work in places like Abu Dhabi, Caracas, Tokyo, Warsaw, and Cairo, among dozens and dozens of others. And I came to know that starting a new job or project often requires walking into rooms of strangers, in places you've never been, in languages you don't understand, to work on problems in totally unfamiliar contexts. I learned that there are two ways to approach that challenge. You can complain and focus on what's different, which can stall progress or basically get you nowhere. Or you can focus on what I call commonality, the shared ground, our common humanity, what unites us. Now, this is not new wisdom. Thomas Jefferson himself shared this advice in a letter in 1811 to his granddaughter Cornelia. Rule number 10 of his dozen canons of conduct was to, quote, take things always by their smooth handle. Jefferson was not suggesting we avoid hard things. He was suggesting how to approach them. You can start with the rough, serrated edge of division, or you can start with the smoother side of commonality. Graduates, I urge you not to walk through life looking for the sharp edge of difference. Consider that we all paradoxically share in common that we each are unique. Science tells us that human DNA is 99.9% identical. And no matter where you live, my experience is that people want many of the same things, like to feel safe, to find meaning, and to build a life that we enjoy. Safety, meaning, and a good life. We have many things in common. We want shared ground. If I could give you a parting gift today, it would be the ability and desire to seek commonality. Commonality will make you happier and help you build relationships. It will make you adaptable and diplomatic. It will help you be successful. In a moment, as you turn towards the rotunda to build your career, your family, and our world, be the person who builds shared ground. Class of 2026, these grounds are forever yours. Congratulations, and as we say in French, à bientôt j'espère. We hope to see you again soon. Wahua.
Department graduation ceremonies scheduled for this morning and afternoon will take place at fair weather locations. The times and locations of the department ceremonies can be found in your program. Department ceremonies will begin after graduates and their guests have ample time to reach their ceremony sites. And now, graduates, please stand for the singing of the Good Old Song.